What's up, y'all? I'm out here at the range again on another hot summer day. I don't have a whole lot planned for out here today though, so it shouldn't be too bad. The main thing I wanted to do is check out this new Smith Wesson M&P 22 Magnum. Not exactly as planned, but we got him on the second round. Let's take a few minutes and check this thing out. All right, y'all, I found us a little bit of shade over here, so let's take a few minutes to check this thing out, and then we'll have some more fun with it. So, like I said, obviously what we're looking at here is the Smith & Wesson M&P 22 Magnum. This is their semi-auto 22 Magnum handgun that just came out. Polymer frame, stainless steel slide, stainless steel barrel. It's got their nice Armor Night finish, I believe they call on it. I really do like the finish that they use. It's a really nice, smooth, it almost feels like a Cerakote feel to it, and really nice, deep black color on it. So we got a 4.35 inch barrel on this, and it's actually not direct blowback. It uses their new Tempo breech, gas operated locked breech system, I believe they call it. We'll look at that a little bit closer here in a second. It's internal hammer fired and got quite a few ambidextrous features on it. As you can see, you got the external thumb safety there, ambidextrous, so you got that on both sides. Your slide lock on both sides, so ambidextrous slide lock there, as you can see. Now the mag release, it's not ambidextrous by default, but you can reverse that. So you can pretty much make this thing fully ready for a lefty. As far as the sights on the rear, you've got a blacked out serrated notch. And then on the front, as you can see, you got that nice green fiber optic rod. Now I'm using a different camera to do the little kind of show and tell part right here. So let me know as far as the volume, if the volume kind of matches what I've got going on my other camera where I'm doing my range stuff. And let me know as far as the picture, just basically which one do y'all think was better between this right here as far as this little showcasing part and what I was using. But anyway, as you can see, you got 4 slots of pick rail there on the bottom, serrated slide on the back, I don't think I mentioned, and it kind of juts out here. It's got the little ears that a lot of them are doing now on the back of the slide to give you a better purchase. Now, like I said, it's internal hammer fired, so the trigger's pretty decent on it. You got a nice flat shoe there with the safety built in. As you can see, that right there, that's about how much take up you got. You're at the wall. As far as the brake, it's a little bit heavier than I would want for something like this. It's hard for me to really guess on this stuff. Now, as far as the reset, really nice, crisp, audible, tactile reset, and you're basically right there back on the wall again, ready to roll. Now it also does come optic cut, as you can see with the cover on it. The footprint on this is for the RMSC, so the smaller one, as far as Holosun size, that would be the K models. The problem here is I've got a little Siley cat that I was going to stick on here after I did it with no optic, but I don't have screws that are the right size and long enough. You don't get any kind of extra screws, any kind of plates or anything with this. What you see is what you get. If you got the screws with the optic to fit, you're good. If not, you got to go get some. And I actually I've got to go grab some 632 by ½ inch is what I'm going to need on this. So if any of y'all are wondering, you're going to need 632 screws. You're probably going to want flat head, of course, to go into your little concave. So 632 by ½ inch. You might can get away with 3/8 inch if you've got a really thin base on your optic, but you're probably going to need 632 by ½ inch. Now, like I said, you've got this Tempo gas operated system here going on. You'll see this is a shroud here, and your actual barrel, you can see there's a separation there. That barrel is inside this shroud and it moves. It almost turns the barrel into like a piston. You've got rings on it and you've got a gas hole down there on the bottom. As far as breaking this thing down for cleaning and just field stripping it, that is one thing that's a little bit different, and I wish that they would have done somehow differently. You don't have to have a tool, but you've got to have something, whether it be an empty case or a punch or something. So, for all intents and purposes, you've got to have some kind of tool to break this down. But basically, if you can see that there, you've got a disassembly notch or a breakdown notch. You kind of have to line that up with your little slide lock there, kind of like you do with a 1911, and hold that. And then on the other side, this pin, you can work that pin out and your whole slide lock lever pops off the side. It really reminds you of like a 1911 takedown. But like I said, you basically line that little notch up there and you kind of got to hold this here. You could take the rim of a case, like I said, because they've got it kind of cut out and notched, and pop it like that, and then grab it from the other side and you can pull it out like that if you had to. If you didn't didn't have any kind of tool. And then here's that tempo barrel system. Like I said, all of this right here is nothing but a shroud. That right there is your actual rifle barrel. And you can see what I was saying. It's basically like it's got gas rings, and then you've got the gas port there on the top. So it's like a delayed kind of deal. There's really nothing locking it. There could be in the frame. I don't know exactly how this thing operates, but basically it's a delayed action, you know, for, in theory, to give you a better performance, a little better dwell time, possibly better accuracy. But like I say, it's basically just a release, and they turn this barrel into kind of a piston. Last thing I wanted to mention is it does come with 2 mags, and they are some standard capacity mags. So you got some nice capacity on this, same as the Kel-Tec PMR, if you know what I mean. Twice as much as this WMP. And I brought this out here to do a little comparison, because the last thing I want to talk about before we get out here and run it some more is one thing that I absolutely do not like about this, and it would actually keep me from buying this if it weren't for wanting to do this video on it, and that's the grip. The shape of this grip for me is absolutely atrocious. And it's not just me, because we had many people try this thing in my local shop, and I was afraid of that because I felt the 5.7, and that's the reason I never picked up the 5.7, because as soon as I picked that up, it almost made me gag. The shape of this grip is absolutely atrocious. It's way too thin and blocky in the front. The problem is, I mean, obviously it's long don't matter. The problem is they made it so thin, trying to go for such a thin profile, that it makes it incredibly thin in the front and very, very square and blocky, and it catches you just in between your creases, in between your knuckle creases and all. And like I said, I had several people try this thing out in there, and everybody, that was one of their first comments before I mentioned anything. They talked about how square it felt on the front of the grip, and that's the first thing you feel, is that square edge right there digging into you right there, and then the other square edge is just kind of out there in limbo. It's just, they made this front edge incredibly thin. You know, if you look at it versus this WMP, I mean, just look at the difference there. I mean, look at the difference there. They could have put some contours, something on there, because this is just, it's the worst feeling grip I've ever felt, y'all. And I'm not dogging on Smith and M&P. Y'all know I got a bunch of Smith, a bunch of M&Ps. I love my EZ, and people might say, well, it's probably about like the EZ. It's nothing like the EZ. Let me just tell you right now, the first thing you notice when you get a purchase on this, and it's just like their 5.7, is those square edges on the front of this grip. It just really digs into you. Now, that being said, for me, that would keep me from buying this. I'll just tell you now. Now, I'm not telling anybody else not to buy this, but that would keep me from buying it, even though this would be nothing but a range toy for me, and there's not a whole lot of recoil, so, you know, you're not getting hot spots that bad, but it would be something I noticed every time I grab this thing. I would notice how square and how awful the front of that grip feels to me. So for me, this would be an absolute no buy just because of this, and that's really a shame, because I was actually looking forward to checking out that 5.7 and this whole new tempo barrel system. But like I said, being that, in my opinion, this is basically just a range use kind of thing, or maybe an at-home nightstand, it may not bother as other people as much, and it may just be, if you've got real small hands, it's fine for you. And I wanted to just give y'all a rough measurement here, because I'm telling you, it's that big of a deal to me. As far as my birdie finger, the point of it out to about the base of my hand there, I've got about an 8-inch long hand. So just take that for what it's worth. The width really don't matter, because I don't care about the length, but that right there, it's something to do with those dimensions like that. If you've got long hands like that, I'm just telling you right now, this is one that you're definitely going to want to put hands on instead of just blindly ordering it before you feel it. But anyway, that's enough talking about it. All I'm going to do out here today is just make sure it functions well, just kind of see where point of impact is, because I'm not going to get real tight as far as dialing it in. I'm going to wait till I put me a little optic up there. Y'all can see I've got a few different types of ammo now. They have a list of ammo, just like all these 22 mags do just about now, of tested rounds that they have found to run reliably, blah, blah, blah. I don't care nothing about that right there. Now, I guess that's to cover themselves. If I run something and it don't run, they can say, oh, well, you know, that wasn't tested, so on and so forth, but it needs to run everything. So what I got here is some Arms Core 22 mag. That's what I've got the most of, just some 40 grain hollow point, because that's actually what I have the most supply of. So I've got a bunch of that. The 22 Maxi Mag, I believe this was actually on their list, 40 grain hollow point again. The Game Point, I think this was on their list. This is a jacketed soft point 40 grain. And believe it or not, I believe these 30 grain VMAX were on their list. So we got some Hornady 30 grain VMAX that seems to give some of them some trouble. And another troublesome one that I think was also on their list of tested ones that worked fine is this Federal small game 50 grain stuff, the real heavy one. So should be a nice variety here. Like I said, we're just gonna test it out for function and have a little fun with some boom booms out here. So let me get us set up and let's get at it. All right, let's run us another handful of these Arms Cores. Same thing, those 40 grain jacketed hollow point. Well, that ain't real good. Got a little jam up going into the chamber there. We won't blame that on nothing particular. Let's try that again. See what happens. I didn't have that first little handful there. Now maybe it's that round. We'll get rid of. Well, it fed on in there, so we'll let it roll. Let's see if it cycles the rest of them. Hopefully we won't have any problems here. I'm gonna just put a handful of them, maybe 5 right here on this 10-yarder right in the center, just to kind of see where my impact is, and then I'll put some on those 10-yard or those 10-inch rounds, and then the rest of them at the 25-yarder out there. Just want to see where I'm impacting at, really. Ah, that was me. All right, so we look like we're about in the right vicinity. Looking good there. I think I'm hitting at the top though. Let's try that 25. That's me getting a fast out there. Pretty good though. And that fed all of them. So after that little first problem, I don't know what that was. Could be some loose projectiles on them Arms Core, who knows. Let me load up some more. Time for a boom boom break. Let's try that again, y'all. We done let the paint out now though, so it might not be as exciting. I was about a 1/4 inch too doggone high right there. That's more like it. All right, let's see what happens if I try to stretch it out a little further. I'm gonna put a few of them right here on this 10 because I changed to the Maxi Mags, 40 grain CCI Maxi Mags. Should be about the same point of impact, but I wanna make sure, and then I'll put some out at the green 50 yarder and the 75 pink yarder. I got 20 rounds in here. There we go with that weird feed thing going on. It's hitting up into the top of the chamber. That was the CCI, so I don't know. We'll keep rolling here. See what happens. Let me put a few here close first. Yeah, they're basically the same exact point of impact. Let's see what I can do at 50, y'all. There we go. There we go. Ah. That's me pulling when I'm missing. Pulled that. I was holding a little bit low on some of those, actually is why I missed, I believe. I was hitting high up close on some of that, but it could just be me. Let me see if I can even hit anything at 75. I ain't hitting nothing out there. Nothing. There we go, there's one. I actually think I was holding too low again. I don't think, well, I guess we are getting some drop out there. Let me try at 75 again. Nah, I ain't doing too swift out there at a distance. Let's get back up here a little closer. All right, I got some mixed mag for this one right here. I've got 10 of those 30 grain VMAX, and then behind that I got 10 of the 50 grain, those small game Federals, I believe it was. So we got 2 of the more troublesome cycling rounds as far as 22 mags goes. I was also looking at this thing here. Yeah, I know you're not going to be able to see it in this camera, but basically what's happening there is you can see that's your barrel. Like I was talking about, it floats inside of that shroud there basically, and there's some blocks inside there that keep this thing from only coming back that much, keep the barrel. So that's what's going on there. I'm just wondering, you know, since that's free floating like that, obviously the position that you're holding it when you rack this slide is going to determine where that's sitting. I mean, there's no doubt that that's changing the entry angle into the chamber there, even though the little feed ramp, it moves with this obviously, but I mean, your mag well's not moving, your mag's not moving, so that's got to be changing the feed angle. So just makes me wonder if that's going to be some kind of issue. You think that they tested all that, so not saying that will be a problem at all. I was just thinking to myself here. But anyway, let's see if these things load, like I say, or run. It's real sluggish, y'all notice right there too. The WMR is sluggish like that too, but I think it's more because of weight. This is sluggish, I think, because of that little tempo system there. But like I say, as long as it doesn't cause any problems, I guess it's fine. Although, I mean, I'd call that a problem, what we've had a couple times at least. But let's run these things. Let's run these 10 VMAX here first. Woo, them VMAX are a lot louder. Let's go to the 25. A lot louder. I don't even know how many rounds that was. How many was that, y'all? That's a VMAX. That's a VMAX. I think that's on the game stuff there. If so, that would have been 1. Yeah, definitely 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope. That was 1 more VMAX. I lost count though. All of those cycle fine, the 30 grain VMAX and the 50 grain Federal small game. And like I said, that's 2 of the more troublesome rounds when it comes to a semi-auto 22 mag. All right, I got 8 more of these 30 grain VMAX loaded up. I'm gonna run these at the 25, and I've got this camera over here close up on the chamber here. I'm gonna slow it down and see if I can see anything out of that tempo system. I don't know that I'll be able to get it slow enough and keep it smooth, but we're gonna try anyway. All right, maybe we got a little something out of that. All right, y'all, let's see if we can end this thing off with a good boom. That one right there definitely did the trick. All right, y'all, I'm gonna wrap it up right there for this Smith & Wesson M&P 22 Magnum. First thing I wanna mention is y'all can probably notice I'm using that new camera I got for this little outro just as a test run to see how y'all like it versus the other one. I've noticed with this, it gives you the nice depth of field, it gives you that nice background blur, but I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. I know people like that cinematic look, but as you can see from what I can tell in the viewfinder there, it's losing all the clouds and everything, which I think looks pretty nice during this little outro. But let me know what y'all think about it and which one you prefer, and also let me know about the sound. Does this sound pretty much match what was going on throughout the rest of the video? But as far as this M&P 22 mag out here, ran pretty good, all except for those few little hang-ups with the feeding. Like I said, now I don't know whether to blame the ammo for that or the geometry inside this thing with that tempo barrel system. If that has anything to do with it at all, could just be some rough edges that needed to be smoothed out. Either way, besides those few hang-ups, bolts, I do have to say it fed everything out here pretty well. However, as far as I'm concerned, like I said at the beginning of this video, I would personally never buy this. I would never buy this or that 5.7 just because of the shape and the feel of that squared off little skinny grip. I know some of y'all might think that's crazy talk right there to rule out something just because of something like that, but like I said, it's one of those things where I would just think about it every single time I picked it up. I mean, how could you not? You would feel those square edges every single time you pick that thing up. Now, I hadn't heard a lot of people talking about this. I hadn't watched reviews on it, so maybe people are. Maybe it's just my hand size, the shape of my hand. I don't know. That's why I gave y'all some measurements. What I would say is, if you're interested in this thing, I personally would highly recommend that you handle it before you make a decision. Other than that, I really don't have any more complaints on the thing. The sights are nice on it. The trigger feels nice enough. Like I say, it's a little bit heavy of a brake, but nothing terrible. So if it weren't for that grip, this is something that I would personally grab. I really like the capacity on it for a range tool out here. I think capacity is king when it comes to that. So this has definitely got the edge there over that Walther. Now, as far as the ergonomics, the Walther blows this thing out of the water. Of course, the Walther is a lot heavier. Well, it's a little heavier, but it's a good bit bigger, a good bit thicker. But as a range tool, that doesn't mean anything to me. So what I'd like to have is the ergonomics of this Walther with the capacity of the M&P. But let me know what y'all think about it. Any y'all out there interested in this M&P 22 mag? Have you actually felt it already? Have you not felt it? Is this kind of making you think that you might better handle it before you make up your mind? Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. If you did enjoy the video, reach down and hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you got your notifications turned on so you don't miss anything when I upload it. Once again, I appreciate all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all out there for supporting the channel like y'all do. I've got tons of really good stuff headed y'all's way, so be on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.